Welcome to Under the Hood, presented by WholesaleCars.com, the podcast that pulls back the curtain on what really makes this buy here, pay here dealership tick. Here in Albertville, Alabama, WholesaleCars.com has been in the same spot since 1994, built on honesty, integrity, and excellence. And around here, the people are just as important as the cars. In each episode, you'll hear from industry professionals and the folks who make this place run, sharing real experiences from behind the counter, behind the scenes, and sometimes behind schedule. The goal? Transparency, a little humor, and a closer look at why this team does things differently. This is Under the Hood. Let's get started.
Welcome back to another installment of Under the Hood, the WholesaleCars.com. We've got our producer here with us today, Taylor McMurtry. He does this for us and does a really good job. And with us is Gerardo.
What's up, Gerardo?
Nothing much. Glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Well, tell us a little bit about your tenure here and how it's gone.
I've been here about 4 years, right? Obviously, I started in sales, also moved into doing some of their social media for WholesaleCars.com, right? We target all demographics, right? And obviously, when we say everyone's approved and every car has a warranty, that's the message we want to get out there, right? That everyone is approved, right? Regardless of credit, regardless of any sort of situation that someone might be in, we make it easy and simple to get approved here.
Awesome. Well, Paul, I know we've got a lot of different topics to kind of jump in and cover here. What were something that you wanted to kind of hone in on for this particular episode?
I'm still amazed. Quick story that happened to me just this week. I'm amazed at the people that do not factor in the mileage on the car.
Absolutely.
They just don't. The mileage on the car, every single mile matters on that odometer. Mm-hmm. And as Gerardo well knows, our cars here have about half of the mileage that most of my competitors' cars have. But anyway, to put it in perspective, Nissan Sentras, mm-hmm. excellent cars, except for the transmissions. The transmissions are junk. Mm. So I have 3 Nissan engines in my warehouse. They've got low mileage on them, but we bought these motors and transmissions just to get the transmission. Well, this lady, I put one on Facebook for $300 for an engine. They don't break, so they don't sell good. So anyway, happened to be a friend of mine's mother that called and said, "Hey, I want that engine." And after we got into it a little bit, she said she needed a 2.0 engine. I had a 1.8. I'll get to the reason I'm telling this story. And I said, "Are you sure you want to fix that car?" "Well, yes. I paid $5,000 for it 3 months ago. Now the engine's bad." "Well, how much does it cost to do the repair?" $1,700. And my $300's going to be. As a matter of fact, I told her I'd give her the engine.
Oh, okay.
I just give it to her.
Wow. Okay.
Because I never need them.
Right.
But anyway, I finally talked her into not even doing the repair because she's got a 180,000-mile car that she's going to put 2,000 more in. Now she's got 7,000 in it. And then when she has to buy the transmission at any time, I use the term riding around with a hand grenade in your hand with the pin pulled out. Right. You hit a bump, and the thing blows up. Mm. Well, that's what she's driving. So anyway, she's not going to do the repair, and she can get $300 or $400 for what's left of the car. That's all it's worth. But had she come up here and paid $3,000 down and had a payment of $250 or $300 a month, she's still in a car with a warranty.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Yeah, that's that's something that I've seen here since being here, and it's something that I learned the hard way. Right, I got my own vehicle.
Oh, you did this too?
Yeah, I got my own vehicle right before I started here. Not right before I started here, but about a year before I started here. I got my vehicle that I have now, and looking back on it, right, bought that car with 100,000 miles. I've had it for 5 years, and it's about to hit 200,000 miles, and it's like I see all the cars coming out here, 20, 30, 40,000 miles, and it's like that just seems like so much more of a better deal, right? On the looking back in retrospect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You've got to think about. You've got a car payment, but it's just made in repairs.
Yeah.
And that people I don't get why they don't get that. It's so simple to me.
Well, and it's like, just it's the world we live in right now. Mileage across, especially trucks. It's probably across all vehicles, but especially, 4-wheel drive trucks, we'll say. You're looking at any lot, anywhere around here, and if there's a vehicle, a truck that let's just say is 3 years old, it's got over 100,000 miles on it, and you're looking at, I'm not talking about all the bells and whistles and leather and power, everything in sunroof, just a kind of a basic base model truck. They're still going for over 35, 40 grand.
I know.
I know. I just don't know how people. I don't know how people are doing
afford
that.
it.
It's crazy. I have been on the lookout for something that I could afford, or something like that, and I've been pretty interested in 2 or 3 of them, and I'm just like, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I just can't. I wouldn't be able to sleep knowing that. All right, this vehicle's already 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
It's already got over 100,000 miles on it. By the time I pay it off, it's going to be 8, 9 years old, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And it's going to have 165,000 miles on it or something, and then the thing's going to break. Then what?
If it makes it.
Right. And I don't know, man. It's a hard pill to swallow with that kind of mileage, with the price tag that's associated with some of these vehicles today.
But that's exactly why we do what we do, is affordability. Mm-hmm. I would much rather be in a business that we never sold a car again with a rebuilt title. But that's not the reality. We're finding more and more dealers are starting to do this, and they realize that, gosh, if you just tell the customer the truth, it's amazing what the customer will do.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've got thousands of reviews, Taylor, and that's something that when we look at those reviews, and they knew exactly what they were buying, and they were buying it with a warranty. But it just blows my mind that, just like you said, how can you afford that?
No.
How can you afford it? But we're on the cutting edge of this industry. But we've got cars that you can afford, and it's going to get you back and forth to work and not leave you broken down. Not to say that some of ours don't. It's a piece of equipment. Mm-hmm. Stuff's going to break.
Oh, yeah.
But we've made sure that 95% of them don't break.
Well, and you've said it, too, on the podcast before. If something breaks when it's not supposed to break, or it shouldn't have
broken. That, right.
You guys take care of them.
You got to take care of them.
Too. And so I think that's 2 major distinguishing factors about this place as opposed to other places. Every car has a warranty, and you actually have your own service department.
Yeah.
So if something needs to be done, you get it done.
We can do it.
We can do it.
So and the place that this lady bought this car at, it's a local dealer. He's a friend of mine, but he specializes in cheap, junky cars. And when you buy a cheap, junky car, you get what you pay for. Every time. You just get what you pay for. She went back to him. This is an 80-year-old woman. And said, hey, can you help me? No, you bought it as is. He didn't have a service department either. So he's not capable. All he's doing is he'll buy a car at an auction, wash it, clean the windows. He might change the oil. Then he puts it out there for a customer to come along and think, well, that sounds cheap. It's cheap for a reason. So just remember that when you're thinking about taking that hard-earned $5,000 and buying a car without a warranty from a dealer that has no service department, or worse than that, buying a car on Facebook from somebody you don't know, unless there's some exceptions, unless that customer bought the car new or is the second owner and they can show you service records on it. That's an all right deal, but so many unscrupulous dealers are operating on the internet and selling to people. There's so many that the Attorney General can't keep up with the complaints, and yet they just move on to the next unsuspecting customer. So again, be wary when you're shopping at somebody that doesn't have anything to lose.
Oh yeah, I think the usual way that it goes, right, when you're talking about other places is you have these 5-year loans, right? 5-6 years.
5 years is a long time.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's
right?
a long time.
And whenever you're buying these cars, especially when they got 100,000+ miles on them, they're already, most of them are at their half life point, and you drive them for that second half, and by the time you've paid it off, you need another one, right? I think we've seen a lot lately. Our customers, right, when they're paying off, they don't need another one anymore, right? And
that's the biggest complaint I've got with what you guys do.
I know, yeah. He's really been pressing us on that. But, they finish paying it off, and because we got that shorter term and those lower miles, they're coming in, and once they're paid off, their car's about 50-60% of its life done, right, instead of 90 to 100%.
Yeah, I hammer these guys. I hammer them about, hey, we had 6 payoffs today. Last month we had 40 payoffs. And I'm hammering them, can't you get them in another car? And they drop their head. They say, boss, they tell me that it's only got 80,000 miles on it now. I've never had a paid off car with 80,000 miles.
Yeah.
But still, I try to get them to make sure they smell the new car that they want to buy and let them drive it. But anyway, I try to meet every customer that pays off now. And when they leave, I make sure they understand that if you need some money, don't go to the title pawn place. That's the worst thing whether you buy a car here from me or not, don't go to a title pawn place. That is. Just don't do that.
No, they're gonna take your soul.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right. You're like a squirrel in a cage. You can't get out.
No, and you said something earlier about it. That hard-earned $5,000.
Yes.
Look, the older I've gotten, the more I've started to view money through the lens of time instead of it just the dollar value. Okay, $5,000, depending on who you are, translates into how many hours did it take to accumulate that money? I mean, that goes for not just a vehicle, just buying anything. Okay, do I really want to, all right, if that's $5,000, I know in my head how long it takes me to make that amount of money. Do I really want to trade? That's a lot of time and a lot of work that I have accumulated this amount. Like, I don't think it's worth that. I don't think it's worth me trading my time for it. So that's generally why I back off some of those deals. But anyways.
Yeah. But we call it graduation here when a customer does pay off. And they're just elated that they've paid their car off. But that's I think I've shared this before, but you've got most buy here, pay here operations are what we call churn and burn. And meaning that all they want to do is get your down payment and repossess your car and sell it again. We want to make customers for life, and we want you as a satisfied customer to send your friends and neighbors and family up here to buy a car from us. But it's very gratifying to see people graduate.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and even whenever they don't trade in, but you ask them if they want to trade in, and they just look at you like you're crazy because their car's in such great condition. It's a good feeling. That person's paid off their car and they still got a car. That's good, right? And that's why we've even been incentivizing them to send friends, families our way, right? And we've started a $500 referral program for paid off customers. And the point behind that is because we know that when they pay off, their car is still good.
Still good.
But we still want to drive that business in, right, from their family, their friends, all of that.
Absolutely, and it's the you'll have to edit this out. I lost it.
You're good. I know when you were talking about that, one thought I had was it seems like people are genuinely grateful to have a dealership work with them, and in their whatever the situation is, maybe it's not bad at all, but to carry them to the point of payoff, like what I mean. I've heard Lacey talk about the collection side of things and just checking in. Hey, do you want me to post that payment this week or whatever, and not be quite so cutthroat about that. Just willing to work with people, and like you said, hey, as long as you'll communicate with us,
if you'll talk to us,
just talk to us.
Yeah,
we'll work with you. We'll figure this out, and if everything's going to be okay.
Yeah,
I think people are genuinely thankful, and to have someone like that to work with them, and that's why you said earlier, repeat and referral business makes up 70% of your business.
We had a guy that came in yesterday, anyway, he wanted Chevrolet Impala, and he had $4,000 to pay down, but he had a pretty colorful past, some criminal issues and some things that and he was 35 or 6 years old, and I told Adam I wanted to meet him, and went in and met with him and explained to him that, hey, we can get this done, but you're gonna need another $1,000 to get you in this car, and we just told him that we love helping folks, and I told him, I said, up here we don't care what color or what nationality you are. All we'd base it on is, will you do what you say you will do?
Oh yeah.
And we're just and when they do that, and when they stay in contact with us, there's never a problem. But this guy left tickled to death yesterday. And I told him, I said, you should be old enough now to where your past doesn't dictate who you're going to be in the future. He said, yes, sir, I've learned. I said, good. I said, we're going to start you out up here. So, and it goes back. If you'll make that payment on time or before, your credit score shoots up like nothing else.
Oh yeah. And you talking about how it doesn't matter, where you come from, right? It doesn't matter what matters is that you do what you say you're gonna do, right? Of course, here, ever since I started, I think about the Hispanic customers that I've had, right? Because now we got Claudia, she's one of the girls helping out with payments. We got Sergio, he's a new sales guy, and we got myself, right? And these Hispanic customers, whenever they come in, whenever they're purchasing, they always talk about how whenever they've bought a car in the past, they've never really understood so much about the terms and all of that, right? Because it was English speaking people selling to them, and there was a language barrier. They couldn't grasp the whole deal, right? But whenever they come here, they always have us to talk to, right? Whether it's Adam dealing with them or any of the other people, right? Claudia can translate for them, or if they're dealing with me, I tell them straight up, right? I tell them what the term length is. I tell them the warranty in detail, and they're grateful to know all of that, right? And then to be able to understand it all, right? And understand where their money's going, understand what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, well, I know somewhat related, but my dad had an HVAC business for several years, and I can't even remember how we got this customer, but it was a Hispanic customer, helped him out, did whatever needed to be done to his unit, and that one person told all of his friends,
Absolutely.
told everybody about it, and like honestly, Dad even was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm getting all these phone calls. You know what I mean? Because like I just don't know who they are, and I don't know how they found me.
Yeah.
And anyways, it's just kind of cool because finally went back to the original person's house for another service call way down the road, and he's like, man, did you give all these people my number? You know, and he said, yeah, I did. You know, did a good job and all that. But what was really cool is what he said at the end of that conversation was like, these Hispanic customers know that you won't take advantage of them. And like, I mean, that's very gratifying
Absolutely
as a
it
business
is.
owner to know like, hey, these people trust you because you know you're the one guy. I'm not saying that he's the only one, but I'm just saying you're someone that we have no problem going, hey, here's his number, call him.
Yeah.
You know, he's not gonna destroy you. You know,
Yeah.
he's not gonna take advantage of you. And it just feels good to help people. You know.
Absolutely. When you're interviewing a customer up here, and obviously Gerardo's got to get it across the finish line through approval, you know. So folks, especially young folks, but all people out there watching this is not rehearsed either. What's the most important factor, do you think, that we're looking at when we're grading paper? You know, everybody's approved, but your down payment may be a little higher because of some metrics on your credit app. But still, just like this guy was shared with you earlier, his down payment's a little bit higher because he had a good bit in his past that didn't look good, but we do second chances up here, don't we?
Yes, sir. That's right.
You know, we do second. What's the most important thing you think in when you're doing a credit app? What can you look at and say they'll buy this deal? What's the most important thing you think?
I think, without looking at credit, right, when you're doing the application, the number one thing that is a good sign is good job time.
Absolutely. Because and I find it so many times today in this culture, especially young people, they get mad and they quit a job. Or they couldn't hold a job because they wouldn't show up for work on time. But I cannot overemphasize, if you don't buy a car from me, stay with the job a little while to get some credibility when you go in and apply for credit somewhere, because that's the first thing we look at is if they hop around all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously income's important, but income's not as important as job time.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Whenever we look at that, we can ignore some of the
negatives,
shakiness,
the shakiness
in their
right.
past. And, if they have good job time, that's always seen, almost as important as credit. Where we can help them out, get them into a vehicle and get them driving, right? Even when other places say no, if they got good job time, we can say yes.
Absolutely, but on-time payments, and after you buy here, on-time payments. It matters to make those payments on time because it's all computerized. We report to the credit bureau, and it picks up out of our DMS system that you were 4 days late. You were 4 days late every time. That impacts your credit with the credit bureau now. So the importance of making those on-time payments. When you look at that stuff, we look at a big picture and we decide how much risk we want to incur with a customer. And obviously, the bigger the down payment, the less risk I'm taking. And with the lower down payment, I'm taking more risk, but I like the customer's picture on his credit better, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something really important too, right? Whenever you talk about the risk and all of that, I think a lot of times customers don't realize that the down payment they put down, it causes them to take on more and less risk as well, right? I have, I just had a customer today, right? Somebody that I've been dealing with for a few weeks now. They had some really shaky stuff on their credit, right? A lot of negative, right? And we needed a little bit more down than what they had, right? And I've been talking to them, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that," right? They didn't see the value in it, right? But they kept calling back every few days. They would call back and they would see, what could you do? Always going back, we're still going to need that down. And then, they started reselecting vehicles. They said, what if I did this car? And case in point, right? Obviously when they weren't talking to me, they were talking to other people, but they were seeing that, hey, this down payment is not going to work because of what my credit report is showing, right? And so nowhere else it would work. But with us, we give them a number and we tell them, if you can get full coverage insurance, we're going to get you in a car and you're going to have a warranty, all of that good stuff. But it looks like he's going to be able to do that now, getting a good low mileage vehicle with affordable payments too.
Yeah.
Well, and I know that the scary part of a larger down payment is like if that scares you or that hurts, you feel that, oh man, you turn loose of $4,000, $5,000 at one time, like, oh, that hurts. It's going to hurt a lot worse to have a monster payment every single month.
Every single month.
I would 10 to 1. I hate letting money go.
Yeah.
I don't like giving people my money, but I'd much rather go, okay, look, here's what can get my down payment lower every month. So the whole buy once, cry once kind of thing.
Buy once, cry once.
Yes,
That's right.
I want to do that and rip the Band-Aid off first.
Yeah.
And then let's, coast from here on out
Yeah.
with a payment I can manage instead
Yeah.
of,
Plus, the higher the down payment, what happens to your payment, Gerardo?
It gets lower.
It gets lower.
Exactly.
And the term gets what?
It gets shorter.
Shorter. So, what's our average term up here?
Our average term is 40 months, probably.
Probably.
If that.
If that, I think it's closer to 37 or 38, but we don't go over 40. And the reason we don't go over 40 is, some places are going 7 and 8 years on cars.
Oh, yeah.
And that's ridiculous. That's not a smart thing to do.
No.
Yes, we sell a lot of cars with rebuilt titles because of affordability. They're cheaper with a warranty, but they're not financed. You won't be paying on it for the next 6 or 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's that's just not good money sense.
No.
So.
Yeah, I think when you also you think about the competitive interest rates we offer and also the shorter term length, it balances out, right? Because so many people flinch, whenever they come in and they're used to their bank's rates or they're used to a really much lower rate, and even though our rates aren't much higher, they still flinch at them, right? And they're like, oh, I could get lower somewhere else, right? And but when you're paying 7-8 years, your interest is going to be more than with a few percent higher interest and a much shorter term length. At the end of the day, the interest is just going to be less.
Oh yeah. Look, it may be a lower payment or whatever, but you're doing it for longer.
Yeah.
And at the end of this term, when everything is paid in full, you've spent a lot more than what you originally bought the car for.
Oh yeah, people always forget that time is a factor of interest.
Well, absolutely. The longer that thing goes, the more it hurts.
Tell us about Sergio.
Sergio? Yeah, Sergio is the bubbliest guy I've ever met before.
Bubbliest.
He is just he's super nice. Greets you with a big smile, right? And he's just truly empathetic toward the customer, right? So many times, you think about the sales process, and I've been here 4 years, right? And sometimes you grow accustomed to what the process is, right? Of course here, especially with the girls, the girls that have to do the interview paperwork and all of this and that, and Brett that has to do the paperwork. Efficiency is a key aspect of doing things, right? We get the customer in as soon as possible, right? And we sit them down, get an application and all of that, and all of that's important, right? But we also want to make sure that the customer feels good about what's going on, right? They don't feel like, hey, this person's rushing me. They don't feel like they're being wronged in any sort of way. They don't feel like they're being made less. And Sergio does a perfect job at that. I think he always is attentive to the customer, right? He always goes and he genuinely cares about them, right? He cares about what they're going to purchase. He cares about what they understand about the vehicle. And with his charisma, with his niceties, right? I can't think of a better word, right? But with his whole personality being so positive, right? It's hard for people not to like him. It's impossible for people not to like him.
Taylor, he's one of those Jesus Christ followers.
Hey, one of those guys.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. And I am too.
Yeah,
Taylor is too. Hopefully,
too.
Gerardo is
Yes,
too.
Absolutely.
But we age discriminate up here too, don't we?
No, sir. Sergio he's like 75 years old. I don't remember.
And we hired him.
That's awesome.
He's good now.
Yeah.
People just love him.
Oh, that's
He's
awesome.
one of those guys, about like this guy. You walk into the room, you just smile when you see him.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that's so important, right? Our behavior towards the customer, that so much of their experience, it hangs on our composure towards them, right? Whether we're nice, whether we're too short with them, whether we explain things to them, that affects how they view us, right?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you think I don't have time to explain this to this person, right? But when we take the time to explain it to them, it makes them feel that much more comfortable with their purchase. It makes them feel have that much more rapport with you.
Because have there been any instances here before where we were nice to a customer, they didn't have the proper down payment, and they came back?
Oh yeah.
Because why?
Because we were nice to them.
Nice to them. Mm-hmm. And that is so critical that so many people miss that. Yeah, I mean, the guy got the money today, but that's not to say he won't have it later.
That's right.
So you best be on your best, have your best manners on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, too, I think that there's a difference between a salesman that is just actively trying to sell you something versus a salesman that's fighting for you, that is trying to help you solve a problem. You need a vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have X number of cash, and maybe your credit is only this or that or whatever. There's a difference between trying to just get somebody in a vehicle and get them out of here versus let's see how we can do this. Let's see how we can get you in something that makes sense for you, that's not going to come right back here, in 3 months or something like that when you can't afford it. I know you've guys talked about that before. Hey, we've talked people out of vehicles before because we know that's not good for them.
It's a train wreck waiting to happen.
Right. So let's just not go down that road. Yeah. Let's see how else we can help you.
But and when you have one of those train wrecks, they can't afford it, and we help create it. Sometimes if we sold them more car than they really could afford, we don't do that. We used to do that in the early days, but we didn't know any better. But if you sell them a car they can't afford, there's going to be a repossession involved, and the customer gets mad, and they leave a bad review.
Yep.
But anyway, I can't avoid those reviews.
No.
So, but we certainly get good ones.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
we think about good reviews, right? We think about, the customers that have had good experiences with us, right? And you think about, just the difference between trying to just get them in a car and get them out versus trying to get them in the right car, trying to make a good deal happen for them, right? Thinking back to Sergio, right? All of us here, it's never closing time until a customer is completely been dealt with, right? Until if a customer comes in here at 4:30 and we don't say, hey, we close at 5, right? We help them out, we get an application, we see what they would need and all of that, and we get them all the info, right? Sergio, since he's been here, I think he's been here about a month and a half maybe, and he's had a few deals that run past 5 o'clock, right? And that just goes to show that he cares about what the customer needs, right? He cares about what they want, right? Whenever he has a deal going, he sacrifices his time, right, to finish with the customer, right? And that's something that we do all the time here. I think back a few months, I had a customer come in. They were looking for a vehicle for their daughter, and they said they had been to a place, that's one of Paul's competitors, and that they were told, hey, we close at 12. Didn't get a car.
Yeah.
It was a Saturday, and they closed at noon on Saturday for whatever reason, and they come down here about 12:30, and they leave in a car by 1:40. So they're in and out in a short hour, and they were very happy with their purchase, and they had driven from almost 2 hours away, I want to say, maybe an hour 45, something like that.
Yeah.
But whenever you're willing to, just spend the time with the customer, they'll always, reciprocate that.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about repos earlier. A lot of times in this business, obviously, we want to build your credit. We want to help rebuild your credit, and we do that by reporting to the credit bureau, and a lot of my competitors do not report. But at the same time, if you don't take advice from your cousin when your cousin tells you, well, just let it go back. Just let it go back. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. Yeah, you can let it go back, and we'll pick it up, but when you get ready for your next car, and the neat thing about this guy that bought yesterday was everything's on his credit report, the trouble he'd been into, and something that so many people do up here. What do they lie about, Gerardo, when they're doing a credit out?
They lie about having repossession.
Having a repossession. And that, we can't sell you a car, not because you had a repossession, but because why, Gerardo?
You weren't honest about it.
You weren't honest about it. You lied. And we're starting a new relationship with a lender here, and you lie within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Just tell us the truth. This guy yesterday, he said, yeah, I've had one repo. He sure did. And I told him, I said, that's one of the reasons we approved you, is because he told the truth about that repo. But yeah, don't listen to your cousin about it. Just let that car go back, because it's we report your good credit, but we report your bad credit as well.
I will never forget the first time I ever heard that phrase. Like I don't want this to sound the way it's going to sound. I don't want me to sound arrogant, but I'd never heard anyone say that. I'd never heard anyone say, well, we just let it go back. And the first time that I heard that was someone who, I'm not going to say who it was, but it was extremely close to me, like very close to me. And they just said it so nonchalantly. So just, well, yeah, we just let it go back. Because, hey, what happened to didn't you used to have a car, oh, yeah, we let it go back.
Just let it go back.
What do you mean? We don't just let things go back, like, do without or something. You know what I mean? I just do something, but. Yeah. What do you mean? Just let it go back? It just blew my mind that was so commonplace.
You said you would do what you said you would do, is make those payments, and it's a different deal when the customer comes up here and they've got medical bills, and we're going to work with them. I mean, we're not going to get their car, but when you've taken a vacation to Florida because it's time for your vacation, you're behind on your car payment. I don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
No. No, I just, it was like at that moment I realized, like, I think we were raised by different people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
When you hear something like,
Absolutely.
oh, we just let it go back. What? Like, no way, man. So,
Yeah, I think back to what you were saying about your father, right, and his HVAC business, right, and how many referrals came out of that. And I think that's something you said, something stood out to me in that moment, right? You said that the people that he was dealing with, they felt like your dad was somebody that wouldn't take advantage of them, right? And that's something, again, like we've been talking about, it's important how the customers feel, because same thing here, right? We've had so many Hispanic customers from Fort Payne, Decatur area, right? So many of them have sent so many of their family members where, one customer turns into, 15 to 20 customers, right? Because, they're just constantly sending family members, they're constantly sending cousins, friends, relatives, coworkers, right? All with the same, the same message, right? This is a good place to buy a car. They have low mileage cars because, again, the low mileage is something that's so important to them, right? I had a customer, probably when I first started, bought a Tacoma. I want to say it was I'm not sure what year model it was, but it had 20,000 miles on it, right? And they've sent probably 12 customers since then, just them, right? And it's something so gratifying to know that when people have good experiences with you, when you treat them right, whenever whenever our product can meet their expectations, then they send so many more people our way. It's just a full circle moment. It feels good. Everybody wins on both sides of that transaction.
for sure. I mean, feels good to help people.
It does. It does. And that's exactly what we're in the business of doing up here. And but our service department is I'd put it up against any new car store in the county.
Yeah.
We're a full service department. Now we don't. If you didn't buy your car here, we don't have time to fix it.
I was going to ask you that because I haven't heard you speak on that specifically. Yeah. If somebody needed work done, if that was something they could get done here, or if it would need to be a vehicle that was purchased here.
Yeah, I mean, there are exceptions to every rule, but
sure.
But it is there's some friends of mine that'll call and say, hey, I need you to, because if they carry it to a local franchise store or wherever, another mechanic shop, you put it in line out there and it'd be a week or two, but we try to accommodate a few, but as a rule, we can't take any more business because good technicians are hard to find, and we pay ours well here. That's why they stay there. Our 3 lead technicians have been here. The least one has been here 8 years, maybe 9 years. So again, if you know anything about business, to keep good people, you have to pay them. You have to have a culture that they enjoy coming to work at every day. And I think we've created that here. I could choke some of you sometimes, Gerardo, but we've got a good group of people that work here.
Oh yeah.
And it's he enjoys it. He's still been here, and I've told him a few times, if I didn't like you so much, I'd fire you, but I like him.
Oh yeah.
That's funny. No, I mean, it does seem like you have the gosh, I don't know how many Google reviews you have that are good.
We've
ones.
got in the thousands.
Yeah, the thousands of positive Google reviews. You have long tenured employees at multiple positions too, not just sales, not just service, not just collection, everywhere.
Yeah.
I think all that stuff kind of rolled into one that says like, hey, and by the way, 70% of your business is repeat and referral. Like, you're doing something right.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Something is working around here for the customer and for the employee too.
That's right. We had an employee the other day, real funny story. I'm not going to call his name, and if he sees this, he'll laugh. But he took an unexcused absence, He'd been here 4 or 5 years. Hard worker. He's an excellent employee, except he still has a hard time showing up. So he decides to take off the other day unexcused. So he comes back in. He said, "Am I fired?" I said, "Well, I told you when you left, your position is no longer available." So, but I said, "I do have one at $2 less an hour if you want to take that position." And I said, "You got 30 seconds. He said, "I like working here. I'll take that." So, and and you may, those of you out there that aren't employers may be thinking, "Boy, what a butt he is."
Right.
No, I'm trying to teach a young charge it's important to show up to work. And this is what I told him. I said, "If you'll show up for the next 60 days and not miss a day, I'll get you back to where you at." He's back to where he's at now. And he hadn't missed any days.
Yeah.
But now he could have quit.
Yeah.
Sure.
He could have quit, but he could have gone down the road and get engaged in a culture he knows nothing about. He knows we have his best interests at heart here. It's a good place to work. He's never had his check to bounce. But there are parameters and guidelines that we have to work in to run this business,
Sure.
to run it for customers that want their cars fixed or whatever it is they're doing. And if I've got a guy that just decides that, well, I can't be here, well, I'm sorry, that position is no longer available. But that's the kind of business we run here, Taylor, and it's
Sure.
it's fun. I like working these young men and women and teaching them this is the way you should conduct
Sure.
yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
No, I think you're doing something right. Like I said, how long has Brett been here?
he's been here 14 or 15 years.
I wouldn't know. I was
Yeah,
here
I was,
after that.
I was thinking it was like 16 or,
Yeah,
or something like
it's
that.
been a long time.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
been a long time.
that's speaks volumes.
Been a long time. So, what other topics did you know of?
Talked about.
I know one I want to ask Paul.
What's that?
So let's talk about. I mean, I don't. You might not be able to reveal your secret sauce or the recipe here, but when you're looking at the auction or wherever you're buying your vehicles from, what does that process look like? If you share as much as you can,
Yeah, yeah.
But as far as I know you've said before, we seek out, we really look for that low mileage, low level of damage. So once you identify a vehicle that you're like, all right, I think that's a player for us, how does that process proceed? Step one is we make a bid or or whatever, and then securing it and transporting it here and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
We have to look at, is just like you've heard of the sales funnel, and this is the acquisition funnel.
Right.
You've got to get so many cars into that funnel to drip a few out at the bottom. So the night before, I've got 3 employees that look for cars the night before. And there are 3 or 4 things I want to know about that car. One is I want to know how many owners it's had. Now, they're looking at cars that have been involved in an accident. And it may sound almost just idiotic, but we pay attention to the Carfax. We're buying damaged cars, but one of our biggest things is what's on the Carfax, because you guys use it in the sales process. But I want to know how many owners it's had, because it's easier for them to sell if it's a 1 or 2 owner, maybe it's a 3rd owner versus, hey, this car's been owned 6 times.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want those cars because it's been passed and passed and passed. So we want to know how many owners it's had, how many accidents it's been in. If we see a couple of minors on it, that doesn't concern us much, because if there's something cosmetic wrong with it when it gets here, we're going to make that repair anyway. But obviously mileage and how that impacts, again, every mile matters, how that impacts what we're doing here. But the Carfax, another thing is uh, what's one of the cars I won't buy? You remember? Totally unrehearsed, but you may not remember. But
I know
It's a Nissan Murano.
the old ones,
okay.
the old ones won't buy those. No, the cars I won't buy are if they've been north of the Mason-Dixon
I was going
line.
to say geographical location.
Yeah, geographical location, what we refer to as Yankee cars,
Yeah.
because they're rusty.
Right.
And we can't, you can cover it up. And here, what we're doing, we're not in the business of covering something up. We want to make a repair, because with the warranty program that we've got here, if I just patch it, guess what I got to do later? I got to fix it.
Yeah.
I got to fix it. So why would I put the customer in a bad way when I got to fix it anyway?
Right.
Because, again, we're not going to sell a bad car, what?
On purpose.
On purpose. We're just not. So anyway, then we put those cars into the sales funnel, and then they've looked at them the night before, and then I review 40 cars or so the next morning in an hour and a half, and then we pick out of those 40 cars, we'll pick out about 10 that we're going to bid on. And I've applied a number to that car, and sometimes I go more than the number. Sometimes we get them less than the number. But that's the way we end up with them. And sometimes when they get here, one of the first things we do when they get here is put a car on a rack, lift it up in the air, and look at the undercarriage. And if we missed a rusty car, I'm not selling it. You know, if we missed a car that's I just don't like that I wouldn't put my wife or mother in, I'm not going to sell it. Just no point in selling it, because it's just we're and again, I want to stress, so many dealers out there are so undercapitalized. They don't have the money. They have to sell and sell quick, and when you've got a problem, they forgot who you are. And we don't want that bad review.
No.
You know. So, but that sort of lays out what we do.
Yeah. And I know you said generally on average the average mileage here is about 65,000.
60 to 65,000, yeah.
Where I know a lot of other buy here, pay here's are going to be
Start 120 or
double that.
30. Yeah, start 120 or 30.
Yeah, that's
they buy it at the auction, wash it and change the oil and put it on the front and cross their fingers. They get lucky sometimes. Some cars are fine, but my technicians crawl in the tailpipe and come out to one of the intakes.
Yeah.
Because we want to know if that, and I'm constantly fielding questions all day. Hey, we found this problem with this car. There are two solutions. Do you know what those solutions are?
We can fix it or knock the price down.
No.
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 My bad.
Think about it. No, I'm talking. You're thinking about
The customer.
No. You're thinking about some cosmetic issue.
Okay.
No. I'm talking about a mechanical issue. We either fix it or do what with it?
Buy it back. No. Fix it or what?
Send it to
This
the
is
auction.
unrehearsed, so I'm. What do we do with it?
If there's a
If we don't retail it, what do we do with it?
we send it to the
Send it to
the
where?
auction. Yeah, the auction.
We send it to the auction, so somebody else can have that problem. Now you may be thinking that, well, that's unethical. No, we sell all our cars in the auction as is. As is means
No
if it
warranty.
breaks into two pieces, you own it. And these dealers that are buying these cars, they know that all our cars are sold as is. So these people that buy cars at auctions, and we buy at auction, but ours is a totally different auction, but there's typically a problem with it. Because if it's a good car and we can do a repair within the range of keeping that car still affordable, we're going to make that repair. Or I'll tell them, I'll put that car in auction next week. We'll fix that car with a what? A check. We'll fix it with a check.
Right.
So,
Right.
so
No doubt. No, I think like I said earlier, I think the service department and the warranty are two huge pieces of you call it leverage or advantages or whatever you call it over the competition around here. Is that
Yeah, and two, I keep hitting on this about there are varying degrees of accident damage.
Oh, yeah.
Varying degrees, because we're looking for cars that have light damage, because when they get ready to sell a car,
It matters, when the shock, the shock that a customer will have if it's bad is a negative sort of shock, right? They'll be shocked. They'll be like, "How are you able to sell this?" All of this and that, right? But whenever it's something that was, a fender bender, something that was lightly scraped, but it just ended up being a total loss because of insurance jargon, right? It's a different sort of surprise, right? They're
well,
surprised.
they're surprised in what they say sometimes. They look at the picture.
Why was that even totaled?
Yeah,
I can't believe they totaled it.
yeah.
And it's something that matters very much because sometimes it'll push them further away from buying a car if it's something that they're not comfortable with, right? But whenever they see our cars and they see how lightly they were damaged and they see how small the problem was, it makes them that much more secure in their purchase, and it makes them feel comfortable with their purchase, and it lets them know that hopefully I won't have problems with this car.
But that's the goal.
Yeah.
Is for them not to have problems with the car.
Oh yeah.
Because my customers got problems, we've got
Oh
problems.
yeah.
And that's the last thing I want to happen. So
Well, and if you do have problems, we'll take care of it.
yes, it's that simple.
Yeah,
It's that
I mean,
simple.
that's really what a customer is buying is confidence.
Yeah,
And I guess maybe trustworthiness. Like I trust what you're telling me is the truth, and I trust that you're going to honor this warranty if we need it.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said earlier, there's a big difference in trying to get somebody in a vehicle and get them out of here versus trying to help them, trying to provide a solution to a problem.
to a problem.
And if you're trying to provide solutions to problems, generally people, they like that.
Absolutely.
They like that
Absolutely.
a lot. But we're at 56 minutes. So.
Okay. Well, guys, I hope you found some of this information valuable. And Gerardo needs to make some money, so y'all come see him. And he
Gerardo
takes.
speaks 2 languages.
Yeah,
I do, right? We have it up on the sign, right? Hablamos español, todos son aprobados. So regardless, if you know somebody that speaks only Spanish, you can send them our way. If they speak English, send them our way. We even sell to those, that speak Creole, right? They speak a different sort of language, right? Because here in Iberville, we're a diverse population, and all around we're a diverse population. So we sell to diverse people, not just, regardless of who you are, everyone is approved, right? And every car has a warranty.
And he's a Trump supporter.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see y'all on the next one.